Okay, today I'm here with Sheffield Hale. He is the president and CEO of the Atlanta History Center. How are you doing today, Sheffield?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, I would love to start off today by kind of introducing you to the audience. So, if you wouldn't mind giving us just a brief background on yourself and kind of how you found yourself at the Atlanta History Center.
I'm what a lot of people call a recovering lawyer. I practiced law for 26 years before coming here 10 years ago. And so that you can kind of guess my age with that. But I was, and I had been deeply involved with the Atlanta History Center as a volunteer. I had been chair of the board at one point, and when they called, they did a search. I was in the middle of being the co-chair of the capital campaign. So when they picked me in the search, I really owned that capital campaign, and so that was they had me at day one, and then they finally got me. But I was a lawyer. I practiced law, corporate securities law, for 16 years. I was partner at a large law firm here in Atlanta. Then I went to the American Cancer Society, where I was chief counsel for 10 years. And there, I practiced all sorts of nonprofit law, but it was the largest nonprofit, well, the fourth largest nonprofit in the country at the time in terms of revenue. So it was really a lot of fun and a great cause, of course. And then 10 years ago, I came here, and even though it's a substantially smaller organization, I like being the CEO. It's not bad. Better than chief counsel, I can assure you.
Absolutely. So what about the Atlanta History Center that made you decide to want to switch?
It was an opportunity to take a really, good organization and make it even better. I've been as chair, I had a long list of things that I wish I could have accomplished. And as CEO, I've been able to accomplish a lot of them. And some of that, of course, is luck and timing, because, timing is everything. And it was a great 10 years to do that. But yeah, it was just the opportunity to take something, take it to a larger level. And we're on our way. We're not there yet, but we're working.
Awesome. Well, I was surprised to hear just the breadth and magnitude of what you have going on there. So, you've got 32 acres. Can you maybe let us in a little insights on what goes on there on those 32 acres?
Yeah, so we're at Atlanta History Center, and we're not just a museum. We have a museum, quite a large museum, but we also have archives for the city of, a lot of Atlanta's archives are here. In addition, so we have an archives building. And so we were founded as an archives in 1926. We've got our 100th anniversary coming up, which also happens to be the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So, there are no coincidences in this world. Everything is planned. And so we're working up to a big celebration for both of those and recognition. But so we have archives that have been going on since 1926, and then a museum that we opened in 1993. And we have a Swan House, a historic house that has incredible grounds. It was recently, it's been in a couple of movies, but it was in the Hunger Games movies, Catching Fire and Mockingbird 1 and 2, as President Snow's house. So we're taking advantage of the tax credits in Georgia and the movie industry that is here as well. And for a while we had specific tours around the Hunger Games. I think we milked that pretty good. So that was one of the things we do. We have 10 distinct gardens here. And really it goes away to gardens here. And then we have a farm, which includes one of them, where we have goats and chickens and sheep, all heirloom, and also bronze turkeys. So we've got a lot going on here, blacksmith shop, and that's open, and we do a lot of folk life, plus a museum, plus archives, gardens, historic houses, a cabin, an 1840s cabin that's in the middle of 12 acres of woods, that you can get a sense of what it was like to be a pioneer in this area.
Wow. You get lost out there. It sounds like quite the attraction.
Yeah. And it's something that you can come to and you can see part of, and then there's always something to come back for.
Awesome. So Sheffield, what's obviously you've been associated with the center for a while now. What are your couple of your favorite exhibits or favorite things to do at the center?
Well, one of the things that we have is we moved and opened in 2019 the Atlanta Cyclorama, which was actually down near the zoo in Atlanta. Had been there since the 1890s, and it's a huge panoramic painting, 50 feet tall and 340 feet around, and of the Battle of Atlanta. And we brought it here, and have made it super accessible, and taken what was viewed for a long time as sort of a lost cause Civil War artifact, which it wasn't, and explained how it was painted by Germans in Milwaukee to celebrate a Northern victory. Surprise. And then ended up in Atlanta and got reinterpreted.
Of
And so
course.
it's the story of that, and the memory surprises people. And that's one of our strategies here, is to really just surprise people and to give people an opportunity for perspective, because it's something they didn't know. And
Okay.
that maybe that comes into their brain and they can think about it. We're not here to try to change people's minds. We're not trying to chase you out into the parking lot and say, did you really understand what we were trying to teach you? We don't do that around here. But what we try to do is to say, give people the opportunity for perspective. And you can do that through humor. You can do it through surprise. You can do it a lot of ways, but you can't do it by lecturing and hectoring people.
I think a lot of people would agree with you on that right now. So, obviously with the, the Civil War and a lot of the, just what you discussed there, with the attractions, I'm guessing that people come with their own opinions, when it comes to, how they interpret things, right? And their perspective of things. So, you know, are you seeing, kind of like the airlines, are you seeing maybe some interpretations or some, maybe things get a little bit more, we'll call them heated than they did prior to the pandemic?
Yeah, and we saw a little bit of that prior to the pandemic. And it's definitely been accelerated. Prior to the pandemic, what we saw, a lot of it was just the way you explained it. It was like people had different expectations of what the historical fact might be. They had a particular point of view, and if you gave them a narrative that was different, and if it was way different, they might be upset and think that you have some sort of agenda. That's only been increased, over time. But so what we did, recognizing that, and trying to also protect our staff, and to make sure that they felt comfortable and supported when some of those kind of arguments, or issues would arise, we developed our rules of civility. This is pre-pandemic, that, and we posted, and, basically if you violate them, that, you're on notice that, you could be removed. And we're trying to do it in a way that's not threatening, but just everybody sort of on notice. And that was great. We developed it with our board and with the staff, at the same time, to make sure the frontline staff, they're the ones who know, what's going on. And then the question is, how do we help them de-escalate or call, somebody to come over and, and support them, and not make them have to, suffer through somebody berating them about the reason that the Civil War was not about slavery,
Okay.
and whatnot. So that was going on pre-pandemic. Now, post-pandemic, we've been, so every blue moon, we would have some sort of customer issue, and we do a lot of events. We do, everything from corporate events to weddings to nonprofit events, large fundraisers, and we do, a substantial amount of business that way. And then we also have a restaurant and coffee shop that are in our space that bring in a lot of patrons on a daily basis. They may not be museum patrons, but are on our campus. And we've seen a real substantial uptick in people who have very short fuses, and don't seem to be restrained at all about the language they use, and talking to people who, whether they be guest experience people in that are at the party, that are, helping in the party, or our uniformed security. It's amazing the kind of things that'll come out of people's mouths these days. And so we've been recalibrating and saying, okay, we've got the rules of civility. We had panic buttons and all those kinds of things, which we've never really had to use. What else do we need? And so I'm thinking right now, about more cameras, maybe even body cameras. Why not? They're cheap.
Yep.
And get rid of the he said, she said thing, just there it all is, more surveillance cameras, because we capture a lot of this stuff on surveillance when it happens, but not necessarily all of it.
Right.
And so anyway, so we're just trying to do that, to have more, and then talk with the staff about how we can de-escalate, if there are any other ways that they, tools that they can use, and then maybe also to eliminate friction points, where you might cause people to be that are already angry to flare up, right? So if you can just eliminate, a friction point, then maybe that's a preemptive measure of getting it done. So those are all things that we're talking about doing.
Awesome. So, I mean, to start with, right? I mean, you've literally posted these rules of civility then, right? I mean, like, so if I'm a patron, I'm going to come in and I'm going to see this.
Yeah, you'll see it. Now, what you may or may not read it.
I don't know if
but
everybody actually reads
it'll be
anything.
obvious on the way in, and so we can say, well, and it's and it's on the website, and you buy a ticket and all of that. It's there. The idea is to give our staff something to point to.
Okay.
To say you've violated the decorum by calling me a name. It's time for you to go.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question, right? So if they violate the rule of civility, are they asked to leave then at that point?
Yes. Yes. Okay. It depends, everything depends, right. On what it is and how it is and how they behave. Right. But the idea is that you can ask them to leave.
Okay.
And then we have other people that can come help them do that. They're not doing it by themselves. We're not, it can be very traumatic for a guest, experienced person to have to deal with unruly behavior, and it's not fair to them. And so the more that they're comfortable, that they've got support, the more comfortable they're going to be in interaction with the public, the better the relationship should normally be. So we, it's a reinforcing idea of making them feel comfortable, then the guest feels comfortable, then you have a better experience.
Absolutely. What I love about this is it's a very holistic approach, right? So you've got, not only do you have it posted, but you've trained your team, right? You've provided them support in the form of, additional team members to help should there be an issue. You've asked for their input in creating the rules, right? So, you've got buy-in, you've got training, you've got support. And then you've also got tools. I mean, I started to write them all down here, but you've also got tools as well as future plans to be able to continue to support this. So, I think for anybody out there who is looking to figure out how to deal with, unruly customers or, the changing decorum, I guess, for lack of a better term, that we're getting in a lot of the hospitality fields, this is a great model. I love it. This is awesome.
Yeah, and we, of course, we hadn't figured a damn thing out. We're just trying our best. And looking around is, we had an incident last night. Somebody got pushed. One of our guest experience people. What the hell, right?
Yep.
And so, what could we do differently? How do we support that person? What's the method of doing that? And we're looking at everything that way.
So when you talk to your team members about this, right, what kind of feedback are they giving you? I mean, is this a route they support? Is this, do they embrace it with the training and the backup, or is this like a, do they just feel like it's inevitable and they hope they can get through it?
Well, I think that they're very, supportive of us being supportive of them. Okay. And the fact that we included them in the training. We also include the board in the training. I mean, not the training, but in the development of the principles, right? So everybody from the person who's interacting all the way to the ultimate, fiduciaries of the organization understand what the issue is. And so they feel supported all the way up and down. And so do I as a CEO. And my job is to support staff and also to create an environment that is great for people who enter, the customer or the client, or however you want to call them. but it has to work both ways.
Okay. And so do you find that this is helping you with like retention right now? I mean, this is obviously a hot button topic for everybody out there. Do you feel how you handled it is really helping you retain some of your staff? You see
Well,
benefit from it?
we definitely have to work with the staff when this stuff happens. I mean, it is traumatic, and we hope to retain them, right? And we do that through trying to show that we care, that we investigate the issue, and try to give people tools and also time to absorb it. And like I said, it's not every day. It was last night, but it's more frequent than it used to be. And for example, at large event like weddings, we've brought in a policeman to be there at the last couple of hours, right?
Yep.
As people are leaving, because that's when you might see somebody, and we try to keep people from being overserved. And sometimes people arrive at weddings overserved, groomsmen particularly. And so you have to watch for that, right? And so you have to train around that, and explain that to the parents of the bride or the groom, exactly what's going on.
Absolutely.
What to expect if we have unruly behavior from one of their guests.
Well, I think a key takeaway that I've gotten from all of this is that you definitely have a focus on training with the outcome in mind, right? It sounds like a lot of the stuff you put together, you've gone out to the team, you've included the board, they've got the backing of yourself. And I think a lot of that is extremely important right now, especially as things are changing quickly. So kudos to you and your team. It sounds like it's absolutely awesome. Very exciting stuff. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it'd be really awesome if people quit misbehaving.
I think we would all love that. I don't know how close we are to that though.
Yeah, we're not having to deal with the mask issue right now. So,
well, I'm going to knock on wood and hope that does not come back again. Yeah, I think everybody is exhausted with that conversation and really hopes that we could just kind of push that one back over the shoulder.
Yeah, we'll see about that too.
So Sheffield, as we look to wrap things up here in just a couple minutes, when you have people coming into your organization, obviously you're going to have new leaders coming in and based on your experience and your background, what kind of advice are you giving new leaders to come in to help them be successful in your operation?
I sort of live by the advice my father always gave me, which was the last 5% is what counts.
Okay.
And that's where you see the difference between good and great, or, successful and unsuccessful sometimes. So sort of the 95% is assumed. It's that last 5% where you see the excellence. And that was where it makes all the difference. Now you could say it's 90%, or you could move it around. Right. And I don't want to sound like it's, you don't appreciate the work it took to get to the 95%.
Of course.
What you do. But the issue is you've got to be thinking about those little bitty details, whatever they are, depending on where you are, that will eliminate a friction point, or, there's something that's just a little bit of on top that'll make for the great experience. And here, one of the things is we want to have more, personal facilitated experience, where people can have a private tour or opportunities for that kind of thing. People love that. That's the last 5%, right? If you can provide that, having, being thoughtful about sort of the language that you use in exhibits, that it's not inflammatory, but it's like it gets to somebody to a point where they're willing to hear it, as opposed to coming out and just saying you're an idiot if you don't understand this, and then repeating that over and over again. Not helpful, right?
Not helpful.
That's probably in the 95%, but increasingly in a lot of places in museums, I think it's in the 5%, because that's where you're seeing the differentiation.
So how are you encouraging your team to think about that extra 5%, right? That last 5%.
It's getting them, the time and the space to think about, what is it that I'm missing? All right. What is it that is out there that would really make this to be a great experience? What is it I wish that we could do that I don't think we can do? Well, maybe we can. You got to ask, right? You got to push. Don't assume that we can't do something because we can't afford it. Maybe, but maybe that's the thing that's going to make all the difference in the world. And so don't be shy about bringing that up. And be thinking ahead and not being satisfied with what we have currently.
Okay. So who are they bringing that up to? Like if they've got a great idea, right? Like how does that work in your facility, right? Do they write it on a piece of paper? Do they email somebody? They see you when they're walking around? How does that work?
Well, I tell them I have 3 doors in my office and they're always open, except when they're closed, like right now. Okay. And that to come in. Now that doesn't necessarily work, right? Because people, right. Think that's an empty offer, right? Well, it's not. But so what you do is you tell them also to talk to their immediate supervisor or talk to a colleague. We've got a very broad leadership team, that's pretty deep into the organization, that meets, once a week. And so we're there. We had it by Zoom today even though a lot of people were in the office, because we're worried about COVID and getting everybody in one small room. Of course. But we do that. And the idea is that anything that needs to come up can, and then they can always come up in smaller groups. We've created an equity team that of staff down throughout the organization that, those kind of issues can come up at that level. And then that gets raised directly to the leadership team or to me. Okay. So we're trying different strategies. Nothing's perfect because sometimes people are hesitant. And then when you get turnover, it gets really hard because then they're just trying to figure out, what the hell's going on in this organization. But those are things we encourage.
Well, what I like is that you've got multiple avenues for just about everything right now, right? It seems like you definitely understand there's not a one size fits all way of doing things. So whether it's, how you treat, the guests that come to your center, right? That you've got, disarming tools built in at every level, that you've got training built in at every level, that you've got, your open door policy combined with multiple ways for them to be able to, really kind of express growth or express concern or lift ideas up. I think that's absolutely awesome. And I think that's, that ecosystem, it all may seem like small little things, but that ecosystem is what keeps your businesses moving, right? Or organizations moving. So that sounds absolutely awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. And then at the very bottom, we have a hotline, an ethics hotline that's, not used, but it's there. And if it needs to be there, it's there and it's anonymous. So you've got that plus all these other things. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get the information you would like to have, but it gives you a better chance of getting that information.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think that's what, as a lot of businesses are getting back in the swing of things from the pandemic and, everything is roaring back. I mean, almost every metric will tell you that people are scoring back to 2019 numbers and maybe a little, maybe better. I think a lot of people are forgetting that you have to put all this support in place. You have to put the training in place. You have to be forward thinking, and that last 5% has to be there in order for you to be successful. So it sounds like you got it dialed in right now. I'm sure your board's really excited about it. And it sounds like your team is as well.
Well, every day's a job interview is what I say. So.
Love it. I love it. Well, Sheffield, it's been great having you here. If people wanted to find out more about the Atlanta History Center, how are they doing that?
AtlantaHistoryCenter.com.
Perfect. And is there anywhere people can reach out to you for? Are you on LinkedIn or?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
So yeah, reach out to me, Sheffield Hale.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure we get that all posted out there. I'm probably going to grab the rules off the website. Like you said, I'd love to get those posted up there as well during the show notes as well. So, again, thank you very much for being a guest today and hopefully we can have you on again in the future.
Well, I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. No problem, Sheffield. Have a great day.
You too.